Yanni's vote noted against item 26 in particular. All right, so that then brings us back to item 10, the Ferry Road Masterplan Project FR4. Now, we were needing some staff advice on this, which was the reason that we deferred it until after lunch. Lynette, thank you. Oh, it's not you? It is you. Okay, that's good. So we'll try that again. Lynette, welcome to the table.
All right.
That's all right. I had a couple of questions on this just to kick things off, and then others may have questions as well. The proposal is to bring it forward into the current year, or the request from the Community Board is to consider bringing it forward into the current year. If we were to make a decision to do that, is this project capable of being delivered within this financial year? Are we able to do that? Do we have capacity to do that? Are we at a stage of planning where we can do that? What would be the result if we made that decision?
We're at a very early stage of planning. We haven't done any consultation. There's a lot of, the scope of this is about, of this project is not just about the crossing point. So there has been some discussions with the school, but it's not just about the crossing point, it's about wider parking issues around Woolston Park, especially on the weekends. So we haven't been to consultation, and if we were putting a, we would have to do that 6 months probably, broadly, and there's a 16 to 20 week lead time on any gear once you actually get a project that you can, so I just don't think that we can implement it this year.
So even if we brought the funding forward to implement it this year, there wouldn't be the capacity for a number of reasons to do that.
Yeah, but we are moving forward with the planning and the design and the consultation and everything else. My understanding is the money's actually in 1920, not. So the aim was to bring it back to 1819.
There's two things, Mr. Chairman. If you have a look at the minutes you've just passed on the annual plan, there is a submission in there, or you've made a resolution asking staff to report back to that community board regarding the planning of the program, including the consultation over it. Now, we've got to go through, obviously, some design, get those documents out, go and talk to the community, and then really the timing of it to bring it back into 1819 or whatever would be part of your LTP discussions. But by the time we do the design, go through, and please appreciate that we have got a $560 million capital program already to try and deliver next year, which is a pretty big program. Sorry, this year now. I'm already spending it, aren't I? Basically, there's a lot of work to be done, and we don't believe that if you brought it back, you'd be bringing back a few $100,000 or you know, a little bit. It wouldn't be done in the right time of the year. You'd be building it, starting to build it at the end of winter. So why, yeah, you've made a resolution on it, which we are intending to act as part of your annual plan submissions.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? Yanni.
So we're talking about a signalised pedestrian crossing. So we've got $71,000 on budget for this year, this financial year. So why does it take so long? Like, it's a pretty straightforward project.
It is not just a signalised crossing, as I said before. The project is about parking solutions around Woolston Park. There's a lot of integration with other projects in the area, including Linwood Lower Playing Fields, Woolston Park Playground. It is one of the projects out of the master plan that we're talking about.
So I can't understand, like.
So there's all of that planning. We have to do parking surveys, we have to understand what the needs are, we have to find appropriate solutions. That's all for the parking around Woolston Park, and then understand what we need to do at the school, what the appropriate positioning is. We need to do surveys. There's all sorts of work that has to be done to find the right solution, and then we have to come up with a scheme, and then we have to take it to the community board, and then we have to go out to consultation. And then we can start designing it and building it and ordering the gear. But we can't order the gear until we have a contractor. Right. So, and there's a 16 to 20 week lead time on the gear.
So if we finish the consultation by the end of the year, six months,
yep,
and approve the design, then how long?
Then it needs to be designed and tendered.
Right.
And then you've got a 16 to 20 week lead time on the gear for signals. And that's standard across the market.
Yeah.
Because it comes in from offshore.
So even with that time frame, the earliest...
That puts us into the next financial year.
We won't be able to do it before July 2019.
2018, I'm saying. But that gets you into the start of your LTP discussions.
And then we can have made the decision to bring it forward into 18-19.
We can put it into the start of the LTP. Yeah.
Yep.
So when would you need sign off on the design in terms of this calendar year for it to be constructed early in the new year?
Early in the new financial year?
No, in the new calendar year.
Early in the new calendar year, it would have been needed to be done at the beginning of this financial year. At the beginning of this calendar year, sorry. Yes, so last financial year.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay.
So,
further question.
just, do we have a kind of crash record of this area? Like, there was another crash last week or the week before that we all saw going to the community board?
Kirst, have we got crashes, sorry? So we only just started it. I don't know off the top of my head, sorry.
We will bring that information, Mr Chairman, back to the community board as been requested by council. We are going to bring you back a report around the master plan of that. That's what you've asked us to do as part of your annual plan deliberations.
What I'm hearing loud and clear is there's work that can be done, which is going to take the best part of this financial year to complete, which will inform our decision making in the long-term plan, and there's every possibility at that time that we may well have a positive discussion about bringing it forward into 18-19 at that time. So what the considerations are, if it's not capable of being sped up regardless of the considerations, then the bottom line is it's not been capable of sped up. It's not capable of being sped up.
So is there anything, the final question, is there anything else that you'd recommend based on the submissions you heard from the school children as to what we can do to make this a safe place, given that they're pretty stressed about the level of safety at the moment, and we heard that through the annual plan?
Again, council's put in for 6 school zones, and we are, we had 3 in our plan, so we will go and look at the priorities for where they are. So, and as we said, when that happened, we will be stretched to deliver those 6 through that time period. So they will go into the mix of priorities across all of our schools. However, in that case, we did talk about them going into part of that master plan, so that it looks at the integrated area solution.
We will also continue talking with the school about there's also potential we can go down and get the parking outside the school gate program down there as well, so that we actually manage people crossing at the right point as well. Because
I will make sure our school safety team go down and talk to the school. I'm sure that they are, but they're not.
Okay. I mean, one thing that's made clear from this discussion is that clearly this is a high priority for the board, and some intervention is required, but the other thing that's made clear is that to do the job properly is going to take some time. Anne?
Yeah. Just continuing the discussion about the 3 extra crossings outside schools that we've signed off on. Is there any way that those who have submitted to us about their concerns, for example,
sorry, I'm going to need to rule this question out of order, Anne. I'm sorry, because it's a general question about that long-term plan decision rather than a question about this particular site.
Okay.
Yep. So it's a valid question, but it's actually on a different matter. Okay, any further questions? Do I have a mover for... Well, I'm happy to move the text in blue that we see on the board behind, which is a slight change to the staff recommendation that was in the agenda. So I'm happy to move that text. Do I have a seconder? Glenn.
Point of order. The resolution has nothing to do with the report. We're not talking about school speed zone, we're talking about master plan. If you brought Dan's question up, then this is even more accurate.
So this can come from the community.
We're talking about a master plan project that we're not talking about school speed zone. But all you've been talking about is 5,000. That's what I'm saying. No, it's the project, it's the master plan project.
So what we...
All I've heard, your unit down is about 1 crossing.
So let's note then in that case, okay, so let's note what we've heard. Note that note that staff have advised there is that planning and capacity would prevent this, planning engagement and capacity would prevent this project going ahead prior to June 2008, prior to the 30th of June 2018. And therefore this is a matter for consideration through the LTP process. No, the planning engagement.
We will continue with the work that we've got on budget this year. We will continue with the planning work this year.
So planning engagement would continue.
Yep.
Will continue.
But delivery
of the outcomes won't occur until
the 2018 financial year.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's better.
That's
what we're just working on.
You're going to work relevant board as soon as possible.
Yep.
In the next consultation phase.
Yeah, that's a different project. But yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, that's a decision for the LTP, so maybe we note that as well, and will be subject to decision making through the LTP process. Because at the moment it's sitting in 1920, but we can bring it forward as part of the LTP decision making.
It's not, it's actually sitting in 1819.
It is already sitting in 1819.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you do it as part of the LTP, there's no certainty that it will happen.
Yeah, so we put on hold.
So if we've got it off another 6 months, like stuff that we've done this year.
No, it won't.
Right.
It's not.
So
Sorry, I was of the understanding it was 1920. Sorry.
So it is 1819.
Yeah, it must be.
And we won't be able to deliver it any quicker if you bring it forward, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so what we've got here actually reflects the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So as a way of moving this forward then, I'm happy to move the wording which is now in blue on the board behind us. Do I have a seconder? Phil. Great, thank you. Yep, please do.
Yeah, I'll speak against this motion. You know, this is about a project that is already underway that I think we can, you know, I just don't accept that we shouldn't take it, bring forward the funding, and if we don't use all of that funding, there's a little bit of carry forward to the next financial year, then so be it. But we should be aiming, I think, to have this project done as soon as possible, given the concerns that we heard from the children who went out of their way to come and talk to us as councillors as the draft annual plan about the very real concerns outside their school. Now, the good thing was that this project had already been identified, work had already started on it, and I just can't understand why, if we can do it sooner, we shouldn't strive to do that. And it may be that it takes a bit longer, but actually we're talking about a pretty simple piece of road that's already had a huge amount of work. There was work done only about a year and a half ago around safety improvements around the school, and we did a whole bunch of parking surveys and put in some parking ticks and some side streets in conversations with the school that they felt that that would be something to start with. Clearly what's happened is the school's bursting at the seams. It's had all the concerns that were raised when the schools merged have come true. The school's over capacity, there's a huge issue in terms of safety, and now the children have come to us and said we want something done about it. And you know, I just think it's really important that we get this done as soon as possible. We're not talking, I think, about a massive project that's going to be controversial and divide a community. We're talking about a pretty straightforward crossing between Ferry Road, Te Waka Inua, the park and the other side of the street. And I can't understand why we would delay this any more than we needed to. So, you know, I think if we put number one, which I won't support, then we sort of rule out the opportunity of trying to do it sooner. And I think we should be trying to do it sooner. And if we don't quite meet that deadline, then fine, carry forward the funding. But, you know, I'll foreshadow a motion that we do move the funding in 18-19 to 17-18 and ask staff to aim to complete the project by the end of this financial year.
Okay, so we'll treat that as a foreshadowed motion. So in the event that the motion which is in front of us fails, we'll then debate that foreshadowed motion. Sarah.
I'm just wondering if an amendment might help to add to that, to say that if planning and engagement is done soon enough, that staff could come back to council to request the funding be brought forward.
Yep, that would make sense. We could deal with it as a bring back in the event that planning was progressed such that it could be done in this financial year. So that would...
We add to one?
So that would be... so we're just noting that staff have advised. That's a fact. So then...
And I don't know the final in the annual plan, but there was 71,000 in this year and 417 in the next financial year. So there is some capital funding available.
So in the event...
There's a few issues that need to be resolved. If we can get through and bring things forward, and all I'm saying is we have got a large capital program already set, and so you know, basically it's a matter of where you would like us to put our priorities.
But just an amendment that said that if, you know, if things progress quickly, we can bring...
Yeah, so if we were able to add a point 2
very high
to this resolution, in the event that planning is able to be expedited such that the project can be delivered in this financial year,
staff bring a proposal to bring the funding forward back to council.
Staff bring a proposal back to council to bring the funding forward to allow the project to be completed earlier.
Commence. I don't know if it'll be
delivery.
completed.
Yeah,
delivery.
Yeah, okay.
Commence.
So in the event that planning is able to be expedited such that the project is able to be delivered in this financial year.
Commenced,
okay.
delivery.
Yeah, able to be commenced in this financial year. If necessary, staff bring a proposal back to council for funding to be brought forward. Sarah, that picks up the point that you were wanting to make? Yep. So in the event that planning is able to be expedited, such a project is able to be commenced in this financial year, if necessary, so that's if necessary, because if it's able to be moved within a programme, then so be it. Staff bring a proposal back to council for funding to be brought forward. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Well, I was doing it as an amendment, but that's all right.
Yeah, no, if mover and second are happy,
Yeah,
we'll just build it
that's
into here. That's fine. All right, great. So, done with questions. Is there any debate on this? I'll put the motion. Okay, so I'll put paragraph 1. All those in... Well, 2 really is in the context of 1. There's just noting what we've been told.
One says will not occur, so may not.
Staff have advised that planning and engagement will continue, have a delivery and of outcomes. So staff have advised that delivery of outcomes... Yeah, that's the reality of what we've been told. And we're saying, well, do what you can to do it faster, and if you can, then come back and ask for money. All right, so I'll put clause 1. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
No.
Okay, so votes against, Dion, Yanni and Sarah. 3 against. Okay, and I'll put clause 2. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Great, thank you.